Howdy. Alright, so I thought, we need more Yareli content. So here we are. Hopefully, you appreciate the amazing Yareli fashion inspired by the Abyss and the Calamity Terrarium mod, greatest biome ever. Anyways, let's get to the build. So I've obviously changed some things since the last one. I still have two yellow Archon shards. These are not necessary. Not in the slightest. They do let you cast Tempest Barrage faster, which, yes, that's our helmet. We'll get to that. Two green shards are important, though. I know that's kind of a pain to get sometimes, but you gotta suck it up. Just play the story, and then once you start getting Netra cells, you'll be able to get these really quick. The last shard is 225 shield capacity. That is just so that I can use Boreal's Hatred and still get the 2.5-second shield gate cap. Not necessary as well. I just felt like using it. So all you need is the green shards to make this build work. So we've got Combat Discipline, Arcane Avenger right off the bat for more crit, because I want to double down on crits, especially for secondaries, because you also get 200% modded crit chance from Yareli's passive. Then we're getting a 45% flat crit chance from Arcane Avenger, which, if you didn't know, Combat Discipline, taking health away on kill, counts as damage to yourself, so can proc Arcane Avenger. We have Arcane Velocity. I don't have it maxed out. I gave mine to my friend a while ago, so I'm still working on maxing this out again. But once it's maxed, that's 120% fire rate to pistols for 9 seconds. When you get a crit, 90% chance to proc, that's going to proc almost all the time. So more fire rate, more crit, passive, even more crit. Now we've got Boreal's Hatred plus the Archon Shard to get the 2.5-second shield gate. Fast deflection, so it recharges faster. It has a 0.5-second delay with 12% per second at the moment. We have Loyal Merulina, which, if you saw my first video, you get a ton of iframes with this. So if your shield breaks, you have 2.5 seconds to cast your Merulina, and then you have 4 seconds of iframes to start regenerating your shields, which you can then just spam that. So this is most of our survivability right here, this as well as the extra shields. Then we have Equilibrium for energy sustain. This is extremely important, otherwise you're going to run out of energy like crazy. Uh, I suppose it really depends on how often you're going to be casting Tempest Barrage, because your first does not take much at all. You're not going to use your fourth that often, and Margolene is also super cheap. So really, I suppose you could get rid of Equilibrium and go something else, but this just lets you spam the crap out of your abilities like no tomorrow. So it's pretty good. You don't need a max rank, even like 60% instead of 110%. If it was like a rank 5, that would still be really, really good. Most broken mod in the game, changed my mind. We got Stretch, so we get more range on Tempest Barrage, as well as our 4 for when we do use it. Viral Tempest, so we get Viral on top of the Corrosive from Tempest Barrage. That way, with 2 green shards, our Tempest Barrage is going to be able to full strip enemies, and it's also going to apply Viral, and that's going to cap out Viral stacks really, really quickly. So they're armor stripped, they have max Viral, and that's also, since it's armor stripped from Corrosive, that has a status effect for Gun CO. Then we have Prime Continuity for some extra duration, and Prime Flow for energy, of course. Sure-footed, so if we get knocked down, there's a chance for it to not happen. This is optional, depending on what you're using. I suppose, really, if you feel like you don't need the energy or you don't need the extra range, instead you could go... Sorry if the screen just cut out now. You could go Fortitude. Where is Fortitude? I am blind. Don't worry about it. Here it is. So you could run this, then you get even more shield recharge, making so you have even more survivability. And now you have guaranteed resist to knockdown. I'm actually just going to run this for now, since we aren't picking up energy. We're in the simulacrum. Now, my choice of weapon today is the Grimoire. It is definitely not the best option. I was trying to find the best weapon to use for this specific build, because you'll see here in a second that we do use our 4 sometimes, or otherwise something else to suck enemies in, and then have them all hit by Tempest Barrage so that the whole group gets stripped and stuff. The problem is you need a weapon that can tag them all. Nucor and Cycron, they can only chain to certain enemies. They don't have an actual AoE, so they can't hit all the enemies when they're grouped up. Akitor is the same way with Sentient Surge. You can't hit them all. I tried Tenet's Spear-X. The AoE damage isn't great, to be honest. First, Incarnon's really strong, but without Punch-Through, even with Punch-Through, it's not as good as I would have liked. Compressa is a very good option, actually. And if you wanted to, you could run a gas build. I actually had a gas build, but I took it off. I forgot about that. I'll show Compress in a second, though. But right now we're using the Grimoire. I have Viral, Radiation, Electricity. Viral's just so that I can apply Viral to enemies if I'm not hitting them with Tempest Barrage. Most of the time I will be, but that's just in case, right? And we already have a ton of electricity. Now, you do not need Amalgam Barrel Diffusion. We can swap this out. This Prime Target Cracker is for more crit damage, but if you don't need the extra damage or you don't have it, you can just use normal Target Cracker. I have absolutely no idea where that mod is at, but I'm sure you'd be able to find it. Creeping Bullseye for a crit chance. You might want to go Prime Pistol Gambit instead because then you get slightly less crit chance. I keep saying way too much. You get 13% less crit chance, but you don't lose the 20% fire rate. I prefer this just because it keeps it even at 60%. Then with Yareli's passive, we're hitting 100% crit chance, guaranteed crits, and then 145% with Arcane Avenger, so we have a chance for orange crits. Accelerated Isotope, this is a new mod from Whispers on the Wall. It gives us fire rate, so that shoots faster. We can make use of the fact that we never have to reload, since Grimoire's infinite ammo. And Radiation. Radiation is nice because it deals bonus damage to the new enemies and Whispers in the Wall, specifically the hand guys, the fragmented. Then, damn, I say way too much. Lethal Torrents, you get this from Nightmare Mode missions, fire rate, multi shot, just more damage. Then obviously Pistol Pestilence, Frostbite for the Viral, and Prime Convulsion finally for the electricity. You can actually run normal Convulsion here. I have Steady Hands because I feel like the recoil is kind of annoying on the Grimoire. It's also not needed. And secondary dexterity for the melee kills to give us bonus damage. You can run Merciless here, but the reload speed is not useful since you never have to reload, and I just feel like it's really annoying to keep stacks up. But in Dexterity's case, you do have to kill enemies with your melee every now and then, though that's not very difficult to do since you're always running around with your secondary, so you can obviously use a glaive. I have Glaive Prime just because I was testing stuff on it. Honestly, I don't like Glaive Prime. I know everyone swears up and down that this thing is the greatest, but I don't know. I don't feel like it's my kind of thing. I prefer the Zorus or the Serrata. Specifically, Serrata is my favorite. I like the most, but Zorus is easy to get. You get it from a quest, unless you sold it after the quest, in which case, rip, you're going to have to farm out 100k standing from the weird yellow Cephalon guy. That's a pain. But if you do have it, you can run this. Melee Influence is really good for extra damage. You're going to want this. This is just your average glaive build, Corrupt Charge for initial combo, Killing Blow, Vicious Frost, and Prime Fever Strike so that we get viral. You don't need primed. Amalgam Ordnance Shatter helps with charge up faster. It's also not needed because Killing Blow does most of the heavy lifting, so you can run normal Organ Shatter. And as always, you can run the normal pressure point if you do not have the primed version. Now, Dispatch Overdrive is really good here because the heavy attacks, the explosions, can proc it, and 60% movement speed is really nice for getting around. Uh, you might notice we don't have electricity to be able to proc melee influence. That's because the heavy attack, the explosion from Zorus, force procs electricity, no matter what elements you have on the weapon. Volatile quick return, just because it gives us a bigger explosion, and then we also have explosions from without detonating it. Very nice. We are using Vazarin for no specific reason other than Void Snare. Void Snare is just nice grouping. You don't need anything else on it. You honestly don't even need it. It's just the kind of grouping I'm going to be using to test with. Now, we'll show that this is fairly good. Now, you have to have the enemies fully armor stripped. That's why the green shards are so important here, because I believe electric has bonus damage against unarmored flesh. I could be wrong about that, check the wiki, but it does a lot of damage if they are armor stripped. If they even have a little bit of armor left, your damage is going to plummet. So you must have full strip. Now, we're going to run in. Obviously, in a controlled or a not controlled situation, it's harder to group enemies up, but that's why I'm going to show something else for grouping in a bit. But let's say you group all of them up, and then you just... I usually do 2-3 casts. 3 casts is the best for the fastest heavy attack. The electricity chains like crazy, as you can see. That was with no stacks of dexterity, right? I didn't get melee kills first. I'm missing the 360% damage bonus. We have no damage in this build, no damage bonus from any sort of mods or anything. So we would be doing like, what, 4-5 times almost as much damage as we just did? So normally you're obviously supposed to build up your dexterity, or if you're using Merciless, you just use that. So you would throw it out, detonate. This thing does absolutely ridiculous damage, even though they're armored. I think it's quite good. I mean, yeah, it's honestly not killing nearly as fast as Blade probably would with a good build, but this thing's fun. I like it. It's easier to get. Blade's ugly. Anyways, now that we have our stacks built up, you can go back in, do it again. In case you want to see, you can group up with your 4. The only problem is that it ragdolls the enemies away afterwards. But, dude, the electricity that chains from your alt fire on the Grimoire is just ridiculous. Now, it actually shows you it can chain up to 2 enemies. When it tags one, you can see the unique trait. Alternate fire releases a voltaic orb that travels slowly, then explodes after 6 seconds, shocking an enemy every second with 6 meters. Within 6 meters. Shock will chain to 2 additional enemies within 6 meters. Now, that is a unique trait. That is separate from the electricity status effect. Because we have high electricity and okay status, we're also proccing electricity. So that's even more damage chaining between the enemies. That's why we're doing such absurd damage. Now, the biggest reason I have radiation on this weapon, other than damage to the new Murmur enemies, is because it adds now the elements. So, obviously, you won't need this if you have the corrosive on the enemy, but just in case, I just like this. It's more fire rate as well. More consistency and having enough elements to proc our companions mod, which you will see, Nautilus. You need to be able to use Cordon. This is going to be sucking in enemies. This is the best grouping for this specific build, in my opinion. 15-second cooldown is the main problem we're trying to get around. With Manifold Bond, we can circumvent that. If we kill an enemy with 3 or more unique status effects, it reduces the cooldown of our companion's abilities by 3 seconds. And Cordon's obviously companion ability. So as long as they have 3 unique status effects, and in this case, if we're just using our weapon, if it procs enough statuses, that is, viral, electricity, and radiation, that's 3. Or corrosive viral from Tempest Barrage, then we only need radiation or electric from our Grimoire. Now, the rest of these mods are very unimportant. Like, you don't... I have Tenacious Bond here. This helps with the crit damage if you have at least 50% crit chance. So just a crit chance mod on either the Volcax or Volclock. But you obviously do not need this. I mean, I didn't have a companion equipped, and you saw the damage was very good. Now, that is going to be the main way of grouping, because normally you probably won't want to use fast run and spam your abilities like that. So if we go back in here, go here, I'm going to try to kill them from here, that way I can retain the sucky, you know what, never mind, we're just going to go here. We're going to build our stacks first. That was very, very good procs that time, much better than last time. That we hit them all in one go, so it spread the damage more effectively. Alright, so now that we have that built up, resimulate, come over here, grab this. Nautilus is going to suck all of the enemies in, spam cast this, and then after they're stripped, cast this. It's quite good. Now, obviously, this is a very controlled place to be using this in, so it's not always going to be quite as effective in mission. But it's fairly consistent because you have the sucking from Nautilus using Cordon, so they're going to be grouped up quite often, and you can just spam your Grimoire. It shoots faster once we get Arcane Velocity going, but even this isn't too bad. I'm using this build because I wanted to make the Grimoire useful as a damage option rather than just utility. And I really love the aesthetic with Yareli. This gives me some massive Terraria vibes because I love playing Mage with all the books in Terraria, and the Calamity mod, the Abyss, like I said, is the coolest zone. I just really like this aesthetic. So that's the build. It's pretty good because you have full strip. It is going, the build itself, I can confirm this will work in level cap. You can make it work. It will. The main problem you're going to have will probably be damage with the Grimoire. I don't think this will hold up past probably level 3000. Unfortunately, it's not really made for damage. Yes, I'm using it as a damage weapon here, but it doesn't hold up extremely well. Though 99% of the Warframe player base is not doing level cap content, in which case you could just run a different weapon. Oh yes, I forgot. I said I was going to show the compressor, so we'll do that before we end the video. So with the compressor, we go for a gas build. Oh yeah, before I couldn't find the crit damage mod, the normal target crack, so we're going to go prime target cracker, barrel diffusion, lethal torrents. We're gonna pretend like I remember how to make gas. Ah, yes. Scorch. Heated charge. Pistol pestilence. I always try to make sure we have everything, so we're missing flat damage because I'm using Cascadia Empowered here. This is a super easy to farm arcane you get from the Zeraman. So if we're missing flat damage, then we're gonna want Hornet Strike. So we have damage, we have fire rate, we have multi-shot, we have crit damage. We don't need to worry about crit chance. That's coming from our Arcane Avenger, as well as Yareli's passive. We have heat and gas, and then that just leaves the open mod slot for whatever you want. In this case, I'm just going to slap on stunning speed, because it helps with the reload speed, gives more status chance. Now this is also very effective. And this way you can use the bubble gun, so you stick with the whole theme of Yareli using her signature weapon. So we're going to spawn the enemies in. Over here. I'm actually going to come in like this, that way they all get grouped up right away. Cast, cast, cast. Full strip, gas. As you can see, it's very effective. I mean, gas normally is effective when there's a ton of stripped enemies grouped together, since the gas clouds can proc on all of the enemies, meaning the more enemies there are, the more damage it scales. Plus, you're having all of these bubbles hit, all of them procking gas on all of the enemies because of the explosion radius. It is very effective. If you group up enough enemies I believe Compressor will be able to work at level cap if you have it built right. Probably better mods than this, like the upgraded mods, the prime versions, and maxed out Cascadia, or Empowered, I think it's Cascadia. It should be able to work fairly well. Now, I don't think it's going to be the best option, but it's going to be fun, and that's what we care about here. So that's it for the build. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed the early content. I honestly thought about doing a video similar to a Hildren video I did not long ago. That was like half an hour going over all my Hildren builds. But I didn't want to do another half an hour video where I yapped for too long, because I know most people can't watch a video for that long, myself included. So if you want to see more Yareli builds, because I have a few others that I really like and are fairly interesting, make sure to leave a comment and tell me. If even one person wants it, I'll do it. If you liked the video, subscribing would be very epic. If you don't like the video, then leave a dislike so I know that it's due to water. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you stop by again.